Welcome back to By the Pages, where we take those fascinating reads piling up on your nightstand and, well, we try to turn them into bite-sized, actionable wisdom.
That's right. And today we're diving deep into a book that's all about those small choices we make, almost invisible, really, that shape our lives in monumental ways.
Really monumental.
It's true.
That's scary.
It is a little bit.
Yeah,
But it's exciting, too.
that's true.
Yeah, we're talking about Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Okay.
And he presents this idea. It's deceptively simple.
I was just thinking that.
Tiny changes, just 1% better, 1% worse each day, compound over time to create these huge differences in our outcomes.
Right, so it's like those stories about a single grain of rice on a chessboard.
Yeah, exactly.
It doubles with each square.
Yeah, it seems small at first.
Yeah, totally insignificant at the beginning, but,
Yeah, but by the end,
oh,
the impact is massive.
yeah, it's wild.
It is.
So 1% better or worse each day.
That's the key.
I mean, who
Yeah.
really stresses about, skipping one workout or having an extra cookie?
Right, we all do it. But then you zoom out. Yeah, and you see the big picture and yikes.
Exactly. That's the power of the compounding effect. It's subtle.
It's subtle, but incredibly powerful.
Yeah. Think of it like investing. A small amount invested consistently can yield incredible returns over time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the same principle applies to our habits,
The good and the bad.
both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so let's unpack this compounding effect a little bit more in the context of atomic habits.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Clear's saying that, lasting success, it's not about those dramatic overnight transformations.
Right, like in the movies.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the movies, it's not about that.
It's about consistency.
Yeah, it's about those tiny everyday actions that add up.
Exactly. He emphasizes focusing on your trajectory, not just your current results.
So where you're headed, not where you are right now.
Precisely. He uses this great analogy in the book, comparing a millionaire with terrible spending habits.
To someone who's broke but diligently saving a small amount consistently,
Yeah.
one is on a path to ruin.
Yeah.
The other is building a solid foundation, even if it seems slow at first.
I like that analogy.
It's a good one.
It really highlights how we often get so fixated on where we are right now
Right.
and not where our daily choices are actually taking us long term.
Exactly. And this applies to the negative stuff, too,
Oh, yeah, the bad habits compounding.
Not just the good ones.
This is where things get kind of scary.
It is a sobering thought,
Yeah, for sure.
but crucial to understand. Clear calls this negative compounding.
Negative compounding. I like that.
Yeah, stress, negativity, even that constant outrage we see online,
Ugh, don't get me started.
it's everywhere, right?
It's exhausting.
These seemingly small, manageable things can build up over time and have seriously detrimental effects in the long run.
Wow, it's true. You don't really notice it at first, but it really does build up.
Yeah, it's like being stuck in rush hour traffic every day.
Ugh, I hate traffic.
One day is frustrating, sure.
Yeah, but if you're doing that every single day,
Yeah, year after year.
it starts to wear on you.
Absolutely affects your mood, your health, even your relationships.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's the accumulation of those daily frustrations that becomes the real problem.
That's right, not just the single event itself.
Okay, so we've got the good habits compounding, we've got the bad habits compounding, and this leads us to another key concept in the book, I think, right?
It does. It's called the Valley of Disappointment.
Ooh, that sounds ominous.
It is a little bit.
What exactly is the Valley of Disappointment?
It's that frustrating phase early on in habit building where it feels like your efforts are making zero difference.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
We all do.
It's like when you're hitting the gym religiously for a week and you still can't fit into those jeans.
It's so discouraging.
It really is. It makes you want to quit.
Right. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
It's normal.
Right.
It's perfectly normal to feel that way. You're on what Clear calls the plateau of latent potential.
The plateau of latent potential.
Hmm?
Mm.
Okay. All those changes you're making, they are compounding,
Okay.
but the effects are often hidden until you hit a certain threshold.
So it's like an iceberg.
Kind of.
You only see the tip.
You gotta keep chipping away.
Okay, so even if we don't see immediate results,
Right.
our efforts aren't wasted.
They're not wastes.
We're building up to that breakthrough moment.
Exactly. Think of it like an ice cube.
Okay.
You can apply heat to it,
Okay.
but it won't melt until it reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
I see.
All that initial effort, the heat, it's being stored.
Okay.
The transformation isn't visible yet,
Right.
but it is happening at a molecular level.
Okay, so we're storing up that potential.
Exactly.
But how do we keep from getting discouraged during that invisible progress phase.
That's where another crucial point comes in shifting our focus from goals to systems.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Aren't goals important?
they can be.
What's wrong with setting goals?
Cleary argues that goal setting can actually be limiting.
Okay, how? So,
You reach the goal, and then what?
yeah, that's true. You kind of lose motivation.
It can be a recipe for complacency
Right.
or even a feeling of emptiness.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
He suggests focusing on systems, consistent processes that support your desired outcomes long term.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but I'm having a little trouble visualizing the difference between a goal and a system.
Sure. So let's say you want to write a book.
Okay.
The goal might be to finish the manuscript,
Right.
but the system is your daily writing habit, the process of actually getting words on the page.
Ah, I see. The system supports the goal.
Exactly. It's about building the structure that supports the goal rather than just fixating on the end result.
Okay, I like that it feels more sustainable and less pressure-filled.
It is, and here's a provocative statement from Clear that really drives this point home.
Okay, I'm listening.
You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
It's powerful.
It is.
Building robust systems is key to lasting change.
Okay, so systems are the key. But how do our habits and our identity fit into all of this?
That's where it gets really interesting, and it's a crucial part of atomic habits.
Okay.
Clear highlights how our actions reinforce our self-image.
Okay,
Every time you write, you're acting like a writer.
I see.
Every time you work out, you're embodying an athlete.
So our habits are votes for the type of person we want to become.
Precisely. And you don't need to be perfect.
Thank goodness.
Just win the majority.
I can do that.
A few slip-ups won't derail you,
Okay, good to know.
as long as you consistently make choices that align with your desired identity.
So we're casting ballots with our daily choices for the person we want to be.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's a powerful way to think about it.
So we've covered compounding, the valley of disappointment goals versus systems, and the link between habits and identity.
We have
Anything else we should know before we move on?
Yes, there is now understanding how habits actually work on a neurological level can also be incredibly helpful in changing them. Clear breaks this down into what he calls the habit loop.
Ooh, another fancy term. Remember, lay it on me.
Okay, it's a four-step process that underlies all our habits. It's the neurological wiring behind why we do what we do, both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
The four steps are cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay, 4 steps. Cue, craving, response, reward. I think I can remember that.
Good.
But what do those terms actually mean in terms of everyday habits? Could you give me some concrete examples?
Of course. Let's say your habit is checking your phone first thing in the morning.
Very relatable.
Right.
So common these days.
Cue might be the sound of your alarm clock going off.
Okay.
That sound triggers the craving, which is the desire to check for notifications, see what you've missed, get a little dopamine hit.
Ah, dopamine. That's the brain chemical associated with pleasure and reward, right?
Exactly. You're craving that dopamine rush.
Got it.
And that craving leads to the response, which is the act of actually picking up your phone and scrolling through your notifications.
And then, of course, the reward is the satisfaction of being in the know, that little burst of dopamine we were craving.
You got it. And that reward reinforces the entire loop, making it more likely that you'll repeat the habit the next morning.
Wow. It all seems so automatic when you break it down like that.
It is in a lot of ways.
It makes you realize how much of our behavior is driven by these unconscious loops.
That's right. It's all happening under the surface.
No wonder it could be so hard to change our habits.
It's a challenge for sure, but the good news is understanding the habit loop is the first step toward taking control.
Okay, so there's hope.
There is.
I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic.
Good.
So once you can identify the cue, craving, response, and reward, you can start to adjust each element
Exactly.
to make the habits you want more appealing
Yes,
and the habits you don't want less so.
precisely. That's where Clear's 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Ooh, more laws. This is getting serious.
It is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, tell me more.
These laws can help us break free from those habit loops and design better ones.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm really here for, the actionable stuff.
All right, here we go. The 4 laws of behavior change are make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
Okay, I think I can remember that.
Good.
Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Basically, you want to engineer your habits so they're easy to start and rewarding to maintain.
Okay, I'm loving this. We're becoming architects of our own behavior.
That's the idea.
So tell me more about each of these laws.
Okay.
Let's start with make it obvious.
Right.
What does that mean in practical terms?
Well, Clear talks about how our brains are prediction machines,
Tell me.
constantly analyzing our environment
Right?
and highlighting cues that are salient.
Interesting.
So by making the cues for our desired habits super obvious,
Okay.
we can significantly increase the likelihood that we'll actually do them.
So if I want to start a morning meditation practice, I shouldn't just leave my meditation cushion buried in the closet
No, put it right in the middle of the living room.
where I can't miss it.
Exactly. You're making the meditation cushion super obvious.
Okay.
So your brain automatically registers it as something to act on.
I like to make impossible to ignore.
Right. And another strategy Clear recommends is using what he calls implementation intentions.
Implementation intentions. What are those and how are they different from just setting a regular intention?
Implementation intentions are all about getting super specific.
Okay.
Instead of just saying, I'll exercise more,
Right.
you say, I'll go for a 20-minute run on Tuesday at 7 a.m. in the park.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're basically removing any room for decision fatigue. You've already made the choice. So when Tuesday at 7 a.m. rolls around, there's no internal debate.
Exactly.
You just do it.
You just do it. And Clear points to a study where people who planned where and when they'd exercise were far more likely to actually follow through.
Wow, that's amazing.
It makes the desired action more obvious and automatic, removes that mental friction.
It's like you're outsmarting your own brain.
Kind of.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so make it obvious is about setting up your environment and your intentions in a way that makes the habit you want easy to initiate.
Exactly.
What about make it attractive? How do you make a habit, especially one you're not initially thrilled about, seem appealing?
Remember those dopamine spikes we talked about earlier?
Yes.
That's where the make it attractive law comes in.
Okay.
The more attractive a habit seems to our brains, the more anticipation we feel,
Oh.
and the more likely we are to follow through.
So is that where temptation bundling comes in?
It is.
Pairing something you need to do with something you want to do,
Exactly.
like only watching your favorite TV show while you're on the treadmill.
You got it. You're leveraging your brain's reward system to make the less desirable activity more appealing.
So it's like tricking your brain into enjoying exercise.
In a way, and Clear suggests getting even more strategic with this, thinking about your specific cravings and rewards.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, if someone's really into podcasts but hates doing paperwork,
Oh.
they could bundle those two activities together.
So I'll only listen to my favorite podcast while I'm filing my taxes.
Exactly. It's all about finding those little motivational pairings that work for you.
Okay, I like that. Make the habit attractive and you're much more likely to stick with it.
You got it.
This is making me realize how much potential there is to hack my own habits.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, what about the other two laws we've covered? Make it obvious and make it attractive. What about make it easy and make it satisfying?
Good questions. Make it easy is all about reducing friction. Our brains are wired to conserve energy.
I can relate to that.
We're naturally drawn to the path of least resistance.
Oh, yes.
So by reducing the number of steps involved in a habit,
Right.
we make it more likely that we'll actually do it.
So it's like if you have healthy lunches already prepared and ready to grab in the fridge, you're much less likely to order takeout when you're feeling tired and hungry.
Perfect example. It's all about removing those obstacles and making the desired action the easy default choice.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of this fits together.
Good.
What about make it satisfying? That seems like a tough one,
It can be.
especially for habits that don't have immediate rewards.
That's right. Make it satisfying is about tapping into our brain's reward system. We're wired for instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification is definitely my weakness.
So we need to find ways to make those good habits feel immediately successful, even in small ways.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make those less than thrilling habits feel rewarding? Especially when the real payoff is months or even years down the road.
Clear has a few strategies for this. One is to use a habit tracker.
Like those sticker charts we had as kids.
Exactly. It works for adults too. Crossing off a day on a calendar, filling in a habit tracker app, it gives you a visual representation of your progress, which can be incredibly satisfying.
I could see how that would be motivating.
It is.
It's like tangible proof that you're sticking to your commitment one day at a time.
Right, and it ties back to that voting analogy we talked about earlier.
Right. Each check mark, each sticker is a vote for the person you're becoming.
You got it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here with 4 laws of behavior change. I'm feeling empowered, but I have to ask, what about when you hit a wall? You know those moments where you slip up, miss a day, feel like giving up? We all have those moments. How do we get back on track?
That's where accountability comes in, and it's a key part of maintaining those positive changes we've been talking about.
Okay, so accountability is crucial
It's essential.
because, let's face it, no one's willpower is perfect.
No one's perfect.
We all have those moments where we slip up.
We all do.
So what are some practical ways to build in accountability and stay on track?
Well, Clear suggests a few powerful strategies. One is finding an accountability partner.
Okay, like a workout buddy.
Exactly. Someone who can offer support, encouragement, and maybe even a little tough love when needed.
Yeah, someone to keep you honest.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be limited to fitness goals. An accountability partner can support you with any habit you're trying to build or break.
Okay, that makes sense, but what if you don't have someone in your life who can fill that role?
That's a good question. Clear offers a solution for that too. It's called a habit contract.
A contract I'm signing on the dotted line to floss every day.
Well, it might sound a bit formal,
Yeah, all right.
but it can be surprisingly effective.
Hmm.
Basically, you write out a clear agreement stating your commitment, the specific actions you'll take, and the consequences if you don't follow through.
Okay, so you're making it official.
And then you have someone you trust sign it as a witness.
So you're not just letting yourself down if you fail,
Yeah.
you're letting down someone you care about.
Exactly. It leverages social pressure in a positive way.
Hmm.
And Clear suggests making those consequences real and tangible, something that truly motivates you to stay on track.
He gives some pretty extreme examples in the book, like that entrepreneur who had to pay his wife $500 every time he missed a workout.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's some serious commitment right there.
But the point is to find what works for you. It doesn't have to be about money. It could be donating to a cause you dislike or doing a chore you hate. The key is to make the consequences unpleasant enough to motivate you to stick to your commitment.
Okay, so we've got accountability partners and habit contracts. What other strategies does Clear offer for staying motivated and overcoming those inevitable slumps?
Well, we've already talked about the importance of making habits satisfying,
Right.
but Clear also emphasizes the power of celebrating small wins.
Yeah, that makes sense. If we're constantly focused on how far we have to go, it's easy to get discouraged. But if we take the time to acknowledge our progress, no matter how small, it can give us the fuel to keep going.
Exactly. It's about shifting our mindset from one of deprivation to one of appreciation. Instead of thinking, oh, I still have 20 pounds to lose, think, wow, I've already lost 10 pounds. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're training our brains to focus on the positive,
Mm-hmm.
to find joy in the journey, not just the destination.
Precisely. And those positive emotions create a powerful feedback loop, making us more likely to stick with our habits. It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back for every step in the right direction.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about accountability partners, habit contracts, celebrating small wins. This is all fantastic advice. But I have to ask, what about those of us who struggle to even identify the right habits to focus on in the first place?
That's a great question. And Clear addresses that in Atomic Habits. He talks about the importance of aligning your habits with your identity, your values, and your unique personality.
Because what works for one person might not work for another, right? Not everyone's meant to be an early rising marathon runner.
Exactly. And Clear encourages a period of exploration, what he calls the explore-exploit trade-off.
The explore-exploit trade-off. That sounds intriguing. What's that all about?
It's a concept borrowed from computer science, but it applies beautifully to habit formation. In the explore phase, you try out different habits, see what resonates, and get a sense of what works for you and what doesn't. Think of it like trying on different clothes to see what fits and flatters your unique body type.
Okay, so it's okay to experiment,
Mm-hmm.
to not have everything figured out from the start.
Absolutely. The goal is to find those habits that feel natural and enjoyable, not like a constant uphill battle.
And once you've explored and identified those habits that seem promising, what then?
That's when you shift into exploit mode. You focus on those habits, refine them, and make them part of your daily routine. It's about committing to those changes that truly align with who you are and who you want to become.
So it's not about forcing ourselves into a mold that doesn't fit. It's about discovering our own unique path to growth and fulfillment.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most empowering messages of Atomic Habits. We don't have to be victims of our circumstances or our genetics. We can be the architects of our own lives, one tiny habit at a time.
That's a powerful message. All right, so we've talked about a lot of great strategies for building better habits, but what about breaking bad habits? Where do we even begin with that?
Well, it's actually simpler than you might think.
Okay, tell me more.
It's all about inverting those 4 laws of behavioral change.
Inverting them. Okay, so instead of making it obvious, attractive, Easy and satisfying.
We do the opposite.
Make it invisible,
Yeah.
unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
Okay, exactly.
Okay, I think I can see where this is going.
So let's say you want to break the habit of mindlessly scrolling through social media.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for me.
For a lot of us.
Definitely.
So to make it invisible, you could delete the apps from your phone,
Okay.
or at least move them off your home screen.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. To make it unattractive, you could think about the negative consequences of all that scrolling.
Like wasting time comparing myself to others.
Right.
Feeling anxious and unproductive.
All of that.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
To make it difficult, you could use website blockers.
Oh, yeah, those are helpful.
Or log out of your accounts every time you finish using them.
So it's one more step to log back in.
Exactly. And to make it unsatisfying.
This is the tough one.
You could track your screen time and set limits for yourself.
So you see the cold, hard data of how much time you're wasting.
Right. Or you could find an alternative activity that's more rewarding.
Like going for a walk or reading a book.
Exactly. Something that aligns with your values and your goals.
So breaking bad habits is basically the flip side of building good habits.
It's the same principles applied in reverse.
I like that it's a framework that can be used for both.
Exactly. And remember, those small changes compound over time.
So even just making one small tweak to our environment or routine
It can have a ripple effect.
and lead to significant changes in the long run.
That's the power of atomic habits.
Well, this has been an incredibly enlightening deep dive into atomic habits. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools for shaping my life in a positive direction.
Me too. And I hope our listeners feel the same way. Remember those tiny changes? They really can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. So until next time, happy reading.